This is the Craig Charles Show, BBC Radio 6 Music. Homer calls. I'm pleased to be welcoming back to the show rock royalty, the legendary Scott Gorham. Scott, are you there?
Hello, Craig. Wow, I can't believe I'm actually not only doing your show, but because of the subject that we're doing.
Well, indeed, Scott. I mean, aside from ripping it up with one of the best bands of all time, you've also been working as a dedicated artist, haven't you?
I've been doing this art project for probably over 40 years, right? And nobody ever saw anything. I kept everything an absolute secret. And part of that was because, like, I never showed anybody in the bank. I actually started drawing a lot of these things on the road, right? But I never showed anybody in the band because really all I was doing, it was just starting the picture. And then I would take it home because there's a lot of intricacies in these pictures. I would take it home to where there was relatively quiet around me, so I could actually put in all these kind of intricate parts of the picture. So I never really showed the guys in the band anything. I mean, what would be the point? He's like, "Hey, look at this. I know it just looks like a head, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was nothing there to see. There was nothing there to talk about at that point."
But how did you find the time? Because I always assumed, I always thought that being on tour with Thin Lizzy, it was going to be a bit of mayhem. It's going to be mayhem. So how did you find that downtime, that quiet space, that headspace to sort of do something which is very still?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It really is. It's when you're out on the road, you're either traveling, checking in, doing sound checks, going to radio stations, doing the interviews and all that. It's a chaotic life out there, but you've got to do it, and we all love doing it. But, in saying that, there are those days you do have, a day off here or a day off there, and so you can just kind of break away from the herd, if you will, and just kind of be by yourself. And I think that's really what happened on the day that I started doing all this. We were in Amsterdam, and I love Amsterdam. Who doesn't, right? And I'm walking around, I walked by this one art store, and for some reason, it was like a magnet. It just kind of drew me in there, and I walked in I wasn't going to buy anything. I just wanted to see what it looked like on the inside. And as I walked out, I got 2 pads of papers and 2 tins of pencils, and now I'm off and running with doing my whole art thing for the next 40 years.
I mean, were you good at art in school? I mean, I was wondering when you first started drawing.
I like to draw. I really did. And when I was 14 years old in junior high school, you had like 4 or 5 different subjects that you could take. And one of them was typing, right? So I took the typing class, and I got a B in the typing class for that first semester. And the only reason I got the B, because I could type 60 words a minute, right? But the only reason I got the B, I couldn't remember all the margins. The medical and the business margin and this margin and that. I just couldn't take all that in. And because I knew I wasn't going to be typing for a living, for God's sakes. So the next semester, I knew there was an art class, right? And the teacher was this pretty young woman, blonde, and she looked great, and you're 14 years old, and I wouldn't mind being in that classroom for the next, 6 months. An hour a day, right? Yeah. But to get in there, what you had to do is she said, go ahead and draw me a portrait of anybody you want, and then bring it to me the next day, and we'll see if you've got what it takes, So I did that. I had my sister sit really still for me, and I drew my sister, and I brought it in the next day, and this teacher, I think her name was Miss Wilson, she looked at the drawing and said, "Yeah, you're in," so welcome to the class.
Is this?
That's the only like actual training I've ever had was like a semester in junior high school when I was 14 years old.
Is this Sister Vicky?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, good for you.
Is she still married to a Supertramp?
No, they got divorced a few years back, but there's no animosity there. Everybody still loves each other, and all the kids are all growing up now. So, and Jesse, my nephew, is just a killer musician. He's out in Germany right now doing that Rock Meets Classic, right?
Oh, wow.
So Yeah, the next time I go out, I'm going to try to get him out on the road with me.
Oh, brilliant. Can you authenticate a tall tale? Were you almost a super tramp yourself?
Well, yeah, I was, I mean, at that point, they hadn't done any albums yet, no recordings. And Roger Hodgson, who does a lot of the writing, all the guitars and keyboards, he didn't know if he wanted to, play guitar in the band, right? So Bob says, if you get over here, as quick as you can, you might be able to get in this band, Supertramp. Now, he had a cassette. He played the cassette of the album that they were going to record, right? And when I heard it, I thought, oh my God, this is amazing stuff. It's really sophisticated. It's way more sophisticated than what Bob and I were playing in Glendale, California, right? So I was absolutely totally excited about maybe I can get into this thing. And then when I got to England, I didn't get it. Roger decided that he was going to do it all himself. So now I'm in England. I don't know anybody. And what the hell am I going to do now, right? So that's when I started to meet a lot of different people. I formed a band over here. It was called Fast Buck. And I'd never heard of Thin Lizzy. Had no idea who they were, what they looked like. I didn't know any of their music. But, the right way Ruin was talking about them, these guys were, something to want to go down and jam with. Mm-hmm. So I went down to Hampstead where they were rehearsing. And the first guy that I saw, he says, "Hey, man, are you Scott?" And I said, yeah. He goes, "Hey, man, I'm Phil. I'm the singer in the band." And he's got this really broad Irish accent. And I'm like, I don't get what's going on here. This is very strange, but he was such a cool guy. He just really welcomed me. It was a good day. We walked in. He introduced me to Brian Robertson and Brian Downey. They'd already auditioned 25 guitar players, literally. Wow. And here walks in number 26, right? So they're not expecting a whole lot at this point, right? But, as it worked out, Phil grabbed my number that day and asked me to join the band that night. So,
and this is back, 74, is it? So this is like,
yes.
This is just before your most critically acclaimed period of making music, isn't it?
Well, that would have been 1976 with the Boys Are Back in Town.
Yeah.
I got to say, that was a real crucial album, and everybody let us know about it all the time. Because it was kind of well known that, you got a 3-record deal, but if you didn't have a hit single by the 3rd album, you're out the door.
Yeah,
we're on to the next band, right? And so we came up with, thankfully, thank God, the Boys Are Back in Town, and it became a, worldwide hit. So that was a very good year.
Choose a tune for us. What tune should we play? A performance of yours from a Thin Lizzy track that you think, I nailed that one.
How about Bad Reputation?
Bad Reputation. This is Thin Lizzy with Bad Reputation, chosen by my guest, the Thin Lizzy guitarist and artist, Scott Gorham. Some of Scott's art prints are available to buy from today. Scott, how many pieces do you have stored away?
Well, I guess altogether, probably be 50. But out of that 50, I would probably really only want to show maybe 20. And then when it got right down to it, I'd probably only want to do like 12 of those, right? So, there's easily 50 drawings that I've got stored away.
What's inspired you to start showing these artworks to the world?
This is kind of my wife's doing. Her and I have been married for 43 years, and I just 3 years ago was the first time I actually showed her anything that I had done. And she looked at it and she goes, "Wow, this is great. Who did this?" And I did this, She goes, no, you did it. Yeah, I did it. I think I angrily snapped the picture away and stomped upstairs, right? And she came up and said, I didn't mean anything by that. I think we really ought to do something with this. I mean, you've got to show people. I'm like, no, I'm not showing anybody. No, leave me alone. Go out. And for 3 years, Greg, she was wanting me to get out there and show these pictures, right? My friend Dennis O'Regan. Now, he's an extremely famous rock photographer. He came out with us and Kiss and, the Rolling Stones and the Who and all that. Mm-hmm. And I asked, Dennis, can you? He goes, yeah, sure. Just bring him over. I'll show you how it's done, right? And I brought my little book over and I pulled it out and he's looking at it going, oh my God, he showed me what could be done and how you blow these up. And people like, Dennis O'Regan and Jim Fitzpatrick, the guy that Thin Lizzy's album covers. He was another guy that encouraged me to get out there. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting here with you, Craig, and we're talking about this art thing, and I'm still scared to death,
Who designed that Thin Lizzy logo? Can you remember who designed it?
That was Jim.
That was Jim.
That was Jim Fitzpatrick, yeah. Isn't that great?
That was a cool logo, wasn't it?
Oh, man. But the day he brought that one in, it was instant. Yeah, man, that is the one. That's going to look so cool on a T-shirt, on the album cover, everywhere, So that became the iconic Thin Lizzy logo.
Back when I was a kid, it was embroidered onto so many denim jackets, onto the back of so many denims. There was you. There was Status Quo.
How cool is that? Yeah?
Rush.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the touring and the drawing and stuff like that. Were you the quiet one in the band, or is there another side to you, Scott Gorham?
Brian Downey was the quiet one, the drummer, right? The guy that makes the most noise was the quietest guy, right? No, probably absolutely not. It was kind of Phil and I that did all the interviews together. Robbo would do the guitar magazines, and Brian did the drum magazines, and it was down to me and Phil to do the radio and television and all that. So no, I wouldn't call myself the quiet guy at all.
I mean, you work with so many top guitarists, Scott. I mean, Brian Robertson, who you've mentioned, Gary Moore, Snowy White. Yeah. Who was your favourite? Because, I mean, you did the dual and you did the twin guitar leads. You know what I mean? So who was you most in sync with when you were doing those dual guitar leads?
It's always been like a really tough question, I think probably the most interesting was probably Brian Robertson, because it was he and I that actually, started the whole harmony guitar thing, which that's not how it was. That's not how we actually started out. This was not going to be a harmony guitar band. It just kind of evolved that way, from the second album on. But, you got a guy like Gary Moore. How could you not like playing with a guy with a genius guitar player like that? I mean, every time he strapped on the guitar, his jaw kind of hit the ground. It's like, this guy was an amazing player. Snowy White was a lot of fun, real bluesy kind of player. He came up with a lot of really cool riffs that we recorded on over 3 albums, right? And last but not least, John Sykes with the Thunder and Lightning album, where the sound changed quite a bit. It got a little bit more metal. And then, we kind of walked away from it thinking that, we're only going to walk away for maybe a couple of years, and then we'll get it back together again while everybody got their health back on track.
Are you going to tour a Lizzy project at all? It must be difficult. I mean, Phil must leave a massive hole. I mean, well, he does leave a massive hole. So how do you go about touring a Lizzy project without him?
For the past few years, what I've been doing, I've been trying to cherry pick, once again, really good players out of really good bands that I like, and these players have to be people who, I guess, maybe grew up with Thin Lizzy, or they're Thin Lizzy fans. They already know the songs, right? So it makes it so much easier when you get into rehearsal. Nobody has to tell anybody what to do. They already know, right? So, and to try to find those people, I mean, they've already got a job. They already got a day job, So you have to find out who's on tour, who's not on tour. And that's where the problems lie, is coming up with this band of really great players, and everybody's not working at the same time, and they want to come out on the road. So it can get pretty tough, but we'll do it.
Listen, it's been fantastic catching up with you again.
You too, man.
I'm a massive fan. Good luck with everything.
Well, I'm a massive fan of yours, man, so forget about it, huh?
Great talking to you, Scott. You have a lovely day, all right?
All right, thank you, Craig, and thanks for talking about my heart and all that stuff.
Cheers, mate. Good on you.
See you, Craig. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.